to another episode of Backseat Basketball Banter. I'm Jonathan, and I'm joined today with Sam to give you guys the NBA Finals breakdown. So, the Los Angeles Lakers have officially won the championship, beating the Miami Heat 4-2, and LeBron has taken home Finals MVP for his fourth time in his career.
That man right behind you.
Yep, yep. He's 4 for 4, 4 championships, 4 Finals MVPs. So he won two in Miami, one in Cleveland, and one in LA now, being the first in the 2020s. Um,
The
so
first
Sam,
player ever to win Finals MVP for 3 franchises.
yep. Rajon Ron. Oh no, you're correct. Finals MVP. I misheard you. Um, but players like Rajon Rondo and Danny Green also winning 3 championships on 3 different teams. So it's very, very.
What was
Uh,
Rondo's 13?
Rondo won.
Celtics and Lakers. What else?
Uh, no, so it's
Danny
Rondo's
Green. It
second.
was Danny
Yeah,
Green.
it's just Danny Green's.
Rondo's the first player to win in both the Lakers and the Celtics.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That was the stat you were looking for there.
hmm So
Um,
let's talk about LeBron winning MVP here for a minute because the Lakers did dominate in Game 1 and in Game 6 to clinch the championship. So what are your thoughts on the LeBron MVP?
Yeah, I mean the LeBron MVP. I was kind of expecting it. I think you were the only one out of the four of us that was saying that this is AD's team. This is like on AD to win it. LeBron came out. He was dominant. He was himself, and I feel like every game he was dominant. And some of us just didn't give him the credit he deserved because it's not a LeBron dominant because we judge him on a different standard than everybody else in the entire world, right? Because anyone else comes out and drops like 25, 8 and 6 and we're like, that's the best game of their life. And LeBron does it, and it's like, yeah, that's average for him,
Yeah.
right? So he's been doing that for the entire series, and he had a couple games where he just turned up the heat and metaphorically and literally, and just dominated. So that's great. But what I want to talk about really is the Lakers role players stepped up.
Yep.
At the end of the first half, I texted all of you guys this, and Brandon and Ben couldn't make it, so maybe they're just a little bit more upset than we are, No, but for real, I texted you guys that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope had as many points as Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Goran Dragic combined.
Yep.
He had 15 points at halftime.
KCP had a really, really good series. Another player that had a really good series was Rajon Rondo, too.
Mm-hmm.
I know people are giving Danny Green a lot of hate for missing that shot in Game 5 to potentially clinch the series then. But he made up for it tonight, too, making a few threes and playing good defense. And you could see in his intensity from the first minute, he was locked in and he was not ready to forgive himself for missing that shot.
Now I want to talk about something like kind of messed up for a minute. Apparently, Danny Green and his fiance were receiving death threats after missing that shot. That is not okay, man.
No,
that is not okay.
You
miss a shot, pathetic. It's a game. Life goes on, but come on, that's outrageous.
I can't fathom understanding how a person can do such a horrid thing to send a player's fiance a death threat over a basketball game. It just doesn't make sense to me. I know there's some crazy people out there in the world, but it's basketball, and at the end of the day, people make shots, people miss them. And say Steve Kerr didn't make that shot when Jordan passed him the ball, we would be talking the same thing about Danny Green. But they also came back and won the championship. It's not that big of a deal. It's just a lack of respect on that part. These players are people and they're humans too, and we cannot disregard that. But let's talk about the championship and the meaning of this Lakers 17th NBA championship. They won this one for Mamba, and it was evident that ever since the passing of Kobe Bryant, this season was dedicated to him. And I can't stress it enough that these Lakers really, really lived up to that Lakers attitude, that Lakers swag, and that Lakers grit from back in those Kobe days. And they played defensively a little different style than what Kobe used to do with Shaq and Pau Gasol. But they really, really lived up to that Lakers name. And I'm just happy they honored Kobe Bryant in a way.
Yeah, man. What they did, especially today, is they came out and they came out hard, and they really just ran. They outran the Heat.
Hmm.
You saw the entire game. Guys like Jimmy Butler were gassed, and I'm not blaming him, man. I'm so damn proud of the Miami Heat. The way that they fought, they pushed us to a 6 game series when everyone was saying it was going to be a sweep. Jimmy Butler left it all on the floor in game 5, and today he just looked gassed. It looked like he
Hmm.
had nothing left in the tank. And he was trying, man. He was trying, but there was nothing left. And the Lakers just still had that extra gear that they could flip it to. They were just it's kind of crazy to say they were the better conditioned team, which like I said,
Yeah.
it's crazy because the Heat pride themselves on that. But
I think the thing here is that the Heat would run like a 7 to 8 man rotation, while the Lakers would just go really deep on their bench. So
yeah,
it
and,
allowed.
and that's because the Lakers could afford it, right?
Mhm.
Because throughout the majority of the series, the Heat were playing without Dragic. They were playing without Bam for a couple games, so they had to go deep early in the series, and that didn't work out. So they had to tighten up their rotation to whatever worked. But honestly, the Lakers just had that extra gear that they could flip. And that
Mhm.
goes, let's go back to LeBron, right? It's just the durability, man.
Yeah.
18 years in the league or something like that, 17, 18 years in the league, and he
Mhm.
still, has that extra little bit of gas left in the tank to turn up and, will his team to the win. Because at first, when the series started, man, we were talking like, oh, yeah, the Lakers are going to win for sure. We were maybe holding our heads up high as Heat fans and talking
Yeah.
about it. No, we got a shot. We're Heat in 6, Heat in 7. But, the rest of the sports media said it was a clean sweep.
Mhm.
Right. And the first, 2 games, the Lakers weren't even challenged. And then Jimmy had the masterpiece in game 3. And then game 4 and 5 were really
Yeah.
tight games.
Coin flips.
Right. So this was really the first time in this entire playoff run that LeBron was challenged to step up to another level. And he
Yeah.
did it. He
Yeah.
still did it.
I agree with that. I want to give a little quote here that LeBron said while he was receiving his Finals
Mm-hmm.
MVP. Um, he said, "I want my damn respect," and I understand where this is coming from because the media will twist and turn things and make it seem like he's not the best or he's not the greatest of all time because Michael Jordan exists and a lot of other great players do.
Yeah.
But the longevity of LeBron's prime has enabled him to be in position to be the greatest scorer in NBA history. Be past Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for that number one All
Oh, you mean
NBA.
like statistically?
Yeah,
Okay.
statistically. He's gonna end his career top 5 in assists, most likely. And now just adding another championship and Finals MVP to his resume, although he should have more regular season MVPs. This is just another nod to LeBron's greatness, and
Yeah.
he sees it, he knows it, and he wants his respect.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna hit it from 2 different angles. The first one is I don't know how much more respect LeBron can demand. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone looks and knows who he is, right? I know he gets sensitive sometimes, right? Because there's
Hmm.
guys who built a career off bashing him because they know it gets views, but like Skip Bayless or whatever, or like Colin Coward, like they just go out and they talk smack for an hour on ESPN, and they get a ton of views and they make a lot of money off of it. But like, if you're LeBron, you got to tune that out, man, because like they're only doing it to get under your skin. Right? They don't believe half the words that they say. They're saying it because it gets views and attention.
I think they say
Right?
it. They say it so much that they start believing it soon.
Yeah, it's possible, but at a certain point, you got to look at like his body of work, and you know what he's done, you know what he's accomplished, and he's still doing it, and he's still doing it at a high level. But on the flip side, right, when we've engaged in it, and we're coming out with a video soon of like the top 10, top 15 players in the NBA. So tune in for that. We're planning it out, having it up for you guys soon. But I really hate the GOAT debate, the greatest of all time conversation. I really hate it because
Just
it takes
respect their
away,
games.
yeah, it takes away from what both LeBron, MJ, and then you start throwing in other names like Magic, Kobe, what all those guys did. It takes away from them when you try to crown one player the greatest of all time, because there's
Comparison just adds a ceiling to how great you can be because they compare you to another great player.
yeah, because
Rather than just allowing you to blossom as your own person, you're always trying to meet someone
yeah,
else's expectations.
because here's the crazy thing, right? We've never seen someone like MJ before. And
Hmm.
we've never seen someone like that since. I know Kobe tried to copy him move for move, but towards the end of his career, he developed like into his own player. He was no longer like a shadow of Michael Jordan. He was his own guy.
He was a pure shot creator
Yeah.
who can go out there and torch any defense at any
And
given time.
then LeBron doesn't play anything like Michael Jordan, right?
I feel
If you
like I
were,
understand what you're trying to get at here,
but
that
my
you're
like, I want to
playing
just
play
like,
styles, but I
yeah,
feel like
like,
it's more resume now.
yeah, but nothing's ever going to compare to 6-0 in the finals. And I know you can make the claim that making it to the finals has more value than being perfect, but in
Chips,
most people's
chips.
eyes, yeah, in most people's eyes, just like being a perfect 6-0, like when you get there, you finish the job. But that's why I hate the debate, right? Because it's I could value one thing, you could value another. We could both be right, and then one of us still finds ourselves putting down greatness,
Hmm.
right? So just appreciate greatness. You don't have to love the guy, right? There's a lot of people that are like a ride or die for LeBron. He can
Yep.
do no wrong, and vice versa for MJ. You don't have to love him. You don't have to think he's perfect, right? Especially as Heat fans, we're in this weird boat where he joined our team, he
I mean,
won for us, he
come on.
left our team, and now he beat us. So it's like, do we like him? Do we hate him? It's hard to
At
tell, right?
at several points during this NBA final, I contemplated taking down this poster because I couldn't stand to bear the sight of LeBron
Mhm.
other than when he's destroying us on the court.
Yeah.
So let's get into the Heat perspective in
Mhm.
this, because the underdogs, they've been underdogs all season. Nobody counted them, and they were always counted out. They were looked at as a top six team in the East at the beginning of the season once they signed
Mhm.
Jimmy Butler. No one expected a championship run, and to get these guys to go out and fight the way they did, I mean, nods to Eric Spoelstra, to Pat Riley, to every coach and person that contributed to that organization throughout the entire season. The players played their hearts out, and it was evident in Game 6 that they left all of it out there. And
Yeah. The
as a
entire
Heat fan,
series.
yeah, as a Heat fan, I can't be disappointed, because although it stings obviously to lose, you weren't even supposed to be here in the first place. So just appreciate the chance.
Yeah. You know who would disagree with you?
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler and every single guy in that locker room. They were
Mm-hmm.
like, "No, we belonged here," and it really for them. I know they're disappointed, and I know Pat Riley on the other hand. The entire game, he was just watching, and he's like, it would be really nice to have Danilo Gallinari opening that corner, and it would be really nice having Victor Oladipo guarding that guy, and like just every name humanly possible was going through his index. And he's on the phone with Andy Ellisberg talking about, yeah, how much cap space do we got? How do we make that happen? All
Mm-hmm.
right, we're gonna send a pitch because the Heat, what they did. I was watching a video. I think it was by the Flight Mike, but I might be wrong. Where he said that the Heat won the championship even without winning the championship because they put the world on notice
Yep.
that this is Jimmy Butler and a bunch of young guys. It's easy to forget. Bam Adebayo is 23.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Hero's 20. Kendrick Nunn is like 22. Duncan Robinson's like 22. All these guys are young guns. They were not supposed to be this far ahead in their development this soon, right?
That's what
We
Miami
look at
does.
we look at young teams like Chicago or Sacramento, where we give those guys the benefit of the doubt, right? We say they're young, they're a young team. Give them 5 years,
Yep.
give them 6 years for them to develop, right? Same thing with like Atlanta, right? They got like a young squad there where like all those guys look like they could develop into some stud players, Trey Young and John Collins and all those boys, but we give them the benefit of the doubt, let them develop, give them time. This Heat team, it's practically a carbon copy of what they had last year up until the trade deadline where they
Yep.
made some big moves. But all these guys are so far ahead in their development. And free agents are looking. A lot of vets who are like just so close but never made it. They're looking, they're like, I think I could win a chip with
Yep.
this team.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely gonna be a prime free agent destination spot this offseason. Although there aren't many huge names out there, big fishes out there this offseason,
Yeah.
there are some guys that can contribute maybe in trades or maybe in signings. So either or is gonna be good. Let's look at it from a Lakers perspective now. How much better can they get, and can they repeat next season, or are teams like the Warriors who are coming back as healthy as ever
Hmm.
can come and shake things up in the West?
All right. So I'm gonna hit it from as many different angles as I can, but it's such a hard prediction to make.
Hmm.
I think they hit their window perfectly.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
They hit their window when they had to. If they choked it, if they let the Heat come back and win it, it would have been so much harder to get back there next year. Um,
Hmm.
because as much as the Clippers collapsed, they're still a force to be reckoned with in the West. Right. We know the Warriors, like you said, are going to come back. They have the number one overall pick. Whether they keep it or they flip it for another star is to be seen, but it's going to be an interesting thing to monitor come draft time. Um, but the West was already scary, and it's going to get a little stronger, right? And the Lakers have some free agents who performed well enough in these finals where they can demand a little more money than the Lakers can afford to give,
Yeah.
right? Like
So
Contavious
can
Caldwell
so
Pope.
so do Heat players here too.
The Heat, on the other hand, really like outside of Dragic, who already said he's taking a team-friendly deal, and
Hmm.
Jay Crowder, they don't really have much to worry about.
Yeah, but they are eventually going to come up on having to extend all of these young guys.
Mm-hmm.
So extending players like Kendrick Nunn and Duncan Robinson might not be in their future plans. But one thing that uh, this is an interesting thing to say here,
Mm-hmm.
but I am more proud of this Heat team than any LeBron led Heat team in Heat past,
Yeah, I
because
mean, is that just because they weren't supposed to be here, but as soon as LeBron
this
touched down in South
yeah,
Beach, it was the expectation?
yeah, this team had no expectations. This team came into the season, they were like, we know what we have here. It's something special. We're gonna go out and prove to the world that we can do it. Maybe the bubble
Yeah,
helped them. Maybe not having to play away games helped them, because we know the Heat struggle in opponents' arenas. But who knows? This was also an opportunity for them to shine, as it was for the Lakers, because of some Titans in the West not being at
hmm.
their best. But the
That
Heat
being said,
also came
though,
in. They came in firing.
that being said, if it was a like regular, like a normal series, they would have had more days in between games,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which would have given guys like Jimmy an actual real break after going out of his mind in game five. So I don't like playing these what ifs, right? Because what if Bam and Dragic didn't get hurt in
No,
game
yeah,
one
yeah,
and they're
hundred
playing full
percent.
strength, right? Both teams were playing banged up. Both teams were under the same circumstances, and so were all the other 22 teams that made it to the bubble, right? We saw that the bubble was a success, right? Everything worked out the way it should have.
Yeah,
Um,
perfectly. Credit to Adam Silver for
yeah,
being able to orchestrate all of that.
and back to the free agent decisions like we were talking about with the young guys, the Heat are in really good position in terms of salary cap, and that management is insane. Last year, just before we go into the future, last year, uh, they had no cap space, and they turned it into Jimmy Butler and 2 wins away from the NBA Finals. Right? Just
I
think about
I'm
that.
I'm impressed with
Mhm.
Miami being able to get these 2 wins. I know Jimmy Butler basically willed them out of him, and Duncan Robinson also played extremely well. And
Mhm.
this is it's just another chip on Miami's shoulder for next season,
Yeah.
knowing that they made it that far and came up short. They're gonna be defending Eastern Conference champions, and I feel like hopefully they're gonna get some of the respect that they deserve next year too,
Dude, I
because
don't think they will
as
though.
as LeBron says, he wants his damn respect. So do the Heat. They're one of these elite teams in the Eastern Conference and
Man, I don't
maybe
think
in
they
the
will.
entire NBA.
I think all the so-called experts, they're gonna rank them no higher than number 4 in the East, and the Heat are gonna have to go out and prove them wrong all over again, right? Because we already know the Bucks, we know the Celtics, and maybe even the Sixers are
And
all
now
going
the
to be ranked
Nets.
ahead of them. Now the Nets come into play, and the Raptors still exist,
Mm-hmm.
even though they underperformed in the playoffs. They're still around. So
Yep.
I don't see any analyst having the Heat any higher than number 4 in the East, and they're going to have to come out there and prove it all over again. Now, I think they're going to make some moves this offseason.
Yeah,
And I
100%.
think their
And that might
salary,
change. That might change some of these rankings as well.
yeah. But I also think that going forward to the future, their salary cap wizardry is so perfect,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because they have these young guys on rookie deals that they have their team options and they can extend them even further, right? They have bird rights on guys like Adebayo, so no team can offer him more than the Heat can.
Mm-hmm.
And they're set for a splash, both in this free agency and next year. Because I think this year what they're going to do is offer some guys, like we mentioned earlier, like Danilo Gallinari, maybe Montrezl Harrell, a
Yep.
big 1 year deal because they could afford it. They have the most cap space, I think, out of any team that's not named New York Knicks in this offseason, which is crazy to think about
Yeah.
because they don't have to lose any contributors and they could sign another big name or two. And then going forward into the next year, if their 1 year deal pays off, maybe they can extend them further. But if not, they can go big fish hunting.
Yeah.
Right. And the 2021 free agency is set to be the most stacked free agency ever.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because in the NBA we tend to see players moving from franchise to franchise because although it's different in the NFL, but this past NFL offseason as well was filled with new names and new places. So
Mm-hmm.
and that brought a new excitement to the game there. So I'm hoping in the NBA we get some of that too.
Yeah,
New
but
hope for new
I'm curious
cities
to
and
see what the trade market looks like because I have a feeling a lot of teams are going to be selling. A lot of
yeah,
teams are going to be selling, and there's going to be like 5 teams that are actually capable of buying, and the Heat
yeah,
are one of them. I think the Lakers are one of them too. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lakers make some big moves to try to,
make a big
improve.
three.
Yeah, something like that, man. You never know. I'm curious to see, but I don't know if I told the story before. I think I have on the pod, but it's still a good one to tell. Back in like November when the season was first starting, I remember I was finding Heat tickets on the resale marketplace for ridiculous prices. I was getting like row 11 seats for $50, right? Because people couldn't sell them. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
wanted to go to games. There was no hype around the team. Only real fans were there. It wasn't, the bandwagon that jumped on, 2 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
right? It was insane, right? I was going to more games than ever before, and it was a sight to see. I remember against the Atlanta Hawks when there was like 6 active players on the Heat, and they all dropped like 30
Yeah.
apiece. Right? It was wonderful to see. But then I tuned on to ESPN, and no one's talking about it. You go on Fox
All you see
Sports, no
is
one's talking about it.
LeBron's face
Yeah,
or
and
KD's
then
face or any big superstars
mhm.
thing. But
and then we
we're
look
gonna be
now, and
yeah. I'm
we,
sorry. We're gonna be talking about if Jimmy Butler is a top 10 player in one of our videos coming out
mhm.
soon. So make sure to stay up with that news. Being said that the only thing that we see on ESPN and these big sports news places are the big players. Maybe Jimmy Butler's starting to become one of them.
Yeah, and the reason I brought that up is because I'm curious to see what it looks like next year if games do end up happening in person.
Mm-hmm.
How the resale marketplace is going to look if Heat tickets are going to be the hot thing to get or not. But I don't think they will be because I don't think the Heat are going to get any love. People are going to say that it was the Cinderella story in the bubble. It's no different than the Suns 8-0 run to start. I'm really curious to see. But the Heat love being the underdogs.
Mm-hmm.
They love it. I think if they get a big splash in 2021, it would be fantastic for their odds, but it would be so weird in the locker room to finally be viewed as favorites.
Yeah.
I think they pride themselves on it, and I think they're going to
It's
be
their
better next
identity.
year.
Yeah,
I think
it's
they're
their.
going to be so much better next year,
Mm-hmm.
even if they don't make any changes, because we talk about the Lakers. They're a team full of superstar vets, right? Because outside of LeBron and AD, let's take a look. We have Rondo, who was a big part of that Celtics championship. Handling the rock. We have Dwight Howard, who single-handedly led the Magic to the finals. They have all these guys that
Danny Green,
have
who
been
was
there
part of
before.
2 other championships.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of role players who are seasoned veterans.
But now
And
you look at the Heat,
yeah,
and the only two players with finals experience were Udonis Haslem and Andre Iguodala. But now you look around the roster, and there's these 20-year-olds, 21, 22, that have, fought all the way to game 6 in the finals. We saw Tyler Hero making a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
Right.
The turnovers killed him in game 6. But going back to your point, Sam, about
But I'd
Heat
rather
side,
him make those mistakes at 20 than at 27.
No, yeah.
There's
There's
what
for
I'm
sure
saying.
potential of growth here. It's the identity of the Miami Heat to be that grit and grind team that I could kind of compare it to what Memphis used to be, kind of with Marc Gasol, Zach Randolph, and Mike Conley being their core. The 3 core guys that will do anything to play defense and night in and night out go out there and show you what they have. And Miami definitely embraces that identity, and they're gonna use it next season and fuel this offseason is gonna fuel Jimmy Butler so much. He's gonna be a completely different player next year. We're gonna see what Jimmy Butler's true potential is, and that's scary to say, being that he just won 2 games in the NBA Finals. So,
really by himself, he didn't have a lot of help.
I mean,
at least not in game 3.
He had some
at least
help,
not in game 3.
Congratulations to the Los Angeles Lakers. Well-deserved NBA championship. Congratulations to the Miami Heat for being Eastern Conference champions and putting up one hell of a fight. Congratulations to both organizations.
You're going to see Jimmy's jersey hanging in the rafters no matter what happens.
Hopefully one day.
After this.
Hopefully one day we can.
After this, man, Mickey and Pat have to reward him for the effort he did in this this run.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a season that any NBA fan is ever gonna forget.
Yeah, no.
The longest season of all time.
This is one for the books for sure. So thank you guys so much for watching. This has been Backseat Banter.
Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah, stay tuned for more great content moving forward. Backseat Banter.